And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. And we're back. Thank you again for joining me today. So today is November 25th, 2022. So we're just a few days, weeks before Christmas will arrive. Anyway, so in this week's episode, we'll be talking some interesting things that's been going on this past week or so. So here are some of the topics we'll be covering. Again, Twitter. If you've been following the news lately, Twitter, which was recently acquired by Elon Musk, has been a hot topic of sorts in terms of what Elon Musk planned for the company and what's happening internally and how is it going to affect the company as a whole. We'll talk about that. Also, if you're Apple user in terms of looking for the latest iPhone 14, you may have to wait for quite some time to be able to get the latest iPhone here. Well, obviously, this pertains to the supply chain that's still limited supply chain or problematic supply chain worldwide, and the fact that it's impacting Apple's business operation is very interesting here. Third, we'll be talking about the founder of Theranos. I don't know how you pronounce it, has now been sentenced to prison because the crime pay, and we'll talk about that also. And next is we'll be talking about an interesting concept in terms of how to market your product by offering discounts if you pay a certain fee or a certain price range, and obviously that would generate a lot of revenue or sales and marketing, a lot of PR for your business, but you'll lose a lot of sales. In order to counter that, you make a big bet in terms of betting on your team that would win. In this case, they were able to win and get a big lump sum of money here. So we'll talk about that. So it's betting recommended here. And lastly, we'll be talking about an interesting fact. If you're familiar with Miss Taylor Swift, a big artist, musical artist here, and it's not her per se, but in terms of if you're interested in attending one of her concerts recently, you have to use an online platform to be able to buy the tickets. But there has a plethora of issues in terms of the surge of fans trying to acquire a ticket here, and which brings the question here: should companies be allowed to monopolize certain markets? And obviously, does it benefit the consumer if there's a monopoly on certain businesses? And like in the case of Ticketmaster, they were not able to provide the best service that the consumer should have and demands to have. And in this case, obviously, uh, it's not always the case. If you're not as popular as Taylor Swift, but it brings to credence the issue that's been mentioned in this article here. Anyway, so without further ado, so let's get the discussion started. As mentioned, with regards to the recent acquisition of Mr. Elon Musk, the on and off, again, we've been discussing it for quite some time, where Elon Musk's strategy, whatever his goal here, but trying to acquire a company as big as Twitter, but not as big as the other social media platform. But obviously, for the platform in itself, it's a very divisive platform in terms of creating, instead of cooperation, but more on controversy, adversarial nature of the case here. But I think the goal here, as mentioned in other articles, with regards to Elon Musk's goal of obviously making the business platform profitable here. But what's interesting here in the an article according to techspot.com, Twitter locks remaining employees out of its offices after hundreds leave following Elon Musk's hardcore ultimatum. Now, obviously, the goal of Elon Musk, just like any CEO, you want to make your business profitable, very lucrative, very not just profitable but very profitable, so that like in the case of Twitter, if you're a publicly listed company, your shareholders will be happy in a sense, satisfied, and you can aim for more. And actually, what's interesting is there's plans. I don't know whether that's true or not, based on the latest tweet of Mr. Beast here, that maybe Elon Musk should consider trying to compete with another media platform, in this case, YouTube here, in terms of obviously YouTube has a monopoly of the video content here, while Twitter has a monopoly on the text based media platform here. And if Twitter could somehow refocus its platform and have the resources and the technical background or skills to be able to replicate what YouTube has been doing and do it much better, I think that's a very interesting case here. But let's take a look at the article here. Now, obviously, with what's happening, it's bringing chaos within the company, who's been used to some sort of culture before Mr. Elon Musk entered the picture here. So what's interesting, recently Musk fired an engineer for arguing with him publicly, and then continued to endear himself with Twitter's remaining staff on Wednesday, when he gave them an ultimatum: say yes to the new extremely hardcore Twitter 2.0 with its 40-hour minimum weeks, and they could average as much as 60 hours or more, meaning intense workloads, or you could leave the company with 3 months of severance pay. Now, obviously, that's very concerning if you're been a long-standing employee of the company, and obviously with a new person in charge, you're trying to do something drastic to turn things around to get the desired outcome here. Now, obviously, whether those employees agree with them or not, and obviously now, according to Mr. Moss, you're given a choice. Yes, you can stay here, but this is what's would it take for you to stay in this company. If not, you're given 3 months, find another work here. But what's interesting, according to the Twitter employees, they're saying thanks, but no thanks to the generous offer of working twice as hard, much longer, with a drastically reduced number of coworkers. And there's an estimate saying that 75% chose to walk, will going to walk. But the question here is, obviously, employees are replaceable, and if they were to leave, opportunities can come in for other people to step in and take up the slack here. And obviously, the Twitterverse is going in rampage here, and as you can see here with one of the tweets being posted like this one, light uh, uh end of an era here. This is fine. What else? But Elon Musk, being Elon Musk, using the platform to his advantage by posting this. Uh, I don't know how you want to do it, trying to piss off other peoples as well here. But I think the point is trying to combat what's happening here, and obviously, the goal here is to turn the tide here and change the perception of how the public is seeing of how toxic the platform it is, and whether he is able to do that is a daunting task. Now, obviously, based on his track record from his other companies that he's held, not all of it been successful, but so far, some would say that he's an entrepreneur mindset has enabled him, catapulted him to be in the likes of Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and even what's his name, Jeff Bezos of the likes here. Now, obviously, there's still going to be controversy, but I think in terms of the business component, there is a big potential for their business to grow still, if the reports are true, and if Elon Musk is seriously considering expanding the capability of what Twitter can and should be doing moving forward here. So we'll be looking forward as to how things would pan out here. Anyway, continuing with our topic, staying with technology here, as mentioned, Apple's dominance in the smartphone business has been steadily, at its peak, slowly declining because of its saturation. But for the rest of Apple fans, Apple users here, if you're planning on trying to acquire the latest iPhone 14 here, there might be some concern here in terms of delays of the shipment because of the delayed production. And if you've been hearing the news lately, in particular in China, there has been some reports of shutdowns, issues within the workers, of safety, and the pay gap, and whatnot. And obviously that can curtail the production of the iPhones here being shipped out and getting to the end consumers here. And according to appleinsider.com, Apple's entire iPhone 14 Pro lineup has historically long wait times. Now, obviously, it's a very popular item, the high-end model that Apple is showcasing year in and year out here. And as we look further, iPhone 14 Pro models are reaching extreme levels 2 months after its launch, and the lower end models aren't making up for the demand. And obviously, uh, Apple is offering a variety of Apple 14 products, from the low end base model of Apple iPhone 14 to the Pro Max, and so forth. Obviously, the demand for the top tier is sought after, and obviously, if you're trying to save a few buck here and there, saving on the lower end may be palatable. But as in the case here, obviously, people are still clamoring for the high end here. Anyway, according to investors from UBS Investment Bank, analyst David Vogt found that wait times for iPhone 14 models have increased once again. Using data that tracks iPhone availability across 30 countries, UBS says that the wait times across most markets, including the United States, have reached around 34 days, meaning you have to wait at least a month. And that would be a big missed opportunity for Apple if they're not able to meet the demand here. And obviously, demand can only stay so long. And if people are not satisfied with their demands, they tend to shift to something else that is readily available, whether it's within the same ecosystem or even totally shift to a different platform altogether, which is obviously what Apple does not want to happen here. And what's interesting here is that the number is up from 7 days way back early in November, and 19 days in October. And in China, times are now 36 days, up 10 days from early November. So obviously, consumers are getting antsy if the delay is getting longer. And especially the biggest opportunity for Apple to generate the maximum revenue for them is the upcoming holidays this Christmas season, whether consumers buy the products for themselves or they buy it and give it to their special loved ones here. And if Apple is not able to meet the demands here, then obviously their expected growth or revenue year on year would be significantly affected. And that's never good for if you're an investor here looking to invest for the company here. The question is, what are they to do here? Now, it's mentioned here that there is some inherent risk. Even though the smartphones are popular, as mentioned earlier, there is some risk to the company if it can't meet demand during the critical holiday season, as mentioned earlier. iPhone unit could miss consensus if wait times do not improve or over the coming weeks. And sad to say, I think the wait times is not going to get any better unless they're able to find another factory which can meet the demands here, which is very unlikely here. Now, iPhone revenue could come in flat year over year compared to the consensus of around 2% growth and almost 10% reported iPhone growth in September quarter here. And the iPhone shipments to reach forecast for the meantime is 83 million units for the December quarter, slightly lower than 86 million forecast it predicted in November here. Now, obviously, 3 million units is not that a big of a deal, but still, that's money being missed out by the company since they're not able to take advantage of the peak demand, peak season, or the Christmas holidays, which typically coalesce during the holidays here. And many companies, not just Apple, is trying to take advantage of that as well here. And will it improve? Well, we'll see what Tim Cook and the team at Apple is going to do moving forward here. Anyway, shifting now to medicine, uh, in terms of how a disgraced company from its rise to glory to where it is now. I'm talking about the company Theranos. For those not familiar with the company, this is a company that sold themselves that they can do significant blood readings by just pinpricking your skin, and they'll be able to do test significant test, which was a total lie. And she was able to push this lie for so long, get big investors in the company. And and there's been a TV series that that's highlighting the rise and fall of Miss Elizabeth Holmes here. And she was sentenced, according to the article here at businessinsider.com. Disgraced Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes has been sentenced to 11 years in prison with 3 years of supervised release. And the question begs here, does crime really pay here? In this case, that scheming uh, investors to invest in her company, and then generating hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars to prop herself and the company here with a blatant lie here. And should she have gotten more prison sentence so that this would deter other people you know from doing this types of thing? And obviously it's not the first time that other people have tried to do this, but it's not the last time that people are going to do this. And the question here is, how do you deter people from committing such fraudulent actions? And there should be a severe penalty for that, whether it's 10 years enough, 20 years, or even a lifetime sentence if it warrants it, so that it tries to curb the individuals from perpetrating these types of fraudulent activities. And obviously, and in this case, the company that she's trying to push has severe consequences in terms of health wise, because if people are bought into her products and services, then it can be misleading and could be life threatening here. Anyway, let's look in on the article here. It was mentioned here, once dubbed the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. Uh, she was found guilty on 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy in the January following a 4-month trial that captivated Silicon Valley here. She will begin her sentence, I think it's maybe next year, April 27 here. So let's take a look here. What's interesting here, it's the blood testing company that she mentioned here, that has been the ideal here. And obviously, typically when you're trying to do some blood work here, a complete blood work, you have to draw some blood with a syringe, and it will take time. And what she was trying to propose was just doing a pinprick here, as mentioned, and they will be able to do an extensive analysis of your blood chem here. And from there, which is a much simpler process and less invasive here. But the problem is, it was all a lie here. And obviously, what she perpetrated for so long, and people were captivated what she was doing, is very concerning here. But the sad fact here is, even though she's going to prison, uh she has a 1-year-old child and is currently pregnant with her second child, which her sentence will begin next year, April, as mentioned earlier. She goes on to mention, I stand before you taking responsibility for Theranos. I love Theranos. It was my life story, obviously, because it was perpetrated on a lie. And tearing up is, I think it's more on a show rather than a sincerity here. I'm so sorry. I gave everything I had to build it and trying to save our company. Nope. You're not trying to save the company. You're trying to trick people into investing into your company, and deceive other people here. And obviously, thankfully, the the lie was caught sooner rather than later here. But it's a cautionary tale that people should be vigilant in terms of companies offering something interesting or compelling, whether that product is actually viable and safe. And as with any companies here, you can look at the vaccine that companies were trying to promote early on during the pandemic. Then you have companies like Apple, saying that their iPhone device is secured. But we'll talk about that in future videos. Then you have Tesla, Elon Musk, Tesla's company, where they're trying to promote the self-automated vehicle, which is not true, since it's only level 2 in terms of automation, and they're still years or decades away of reaching level 5 autonomy, which is another discussion here. So obviously it's up to the consumers here to determine, decide for themselves whether those companies, what they're selling, that we should buy it or believe what they're promoting here. And and it will not be the last one. And obviously, hopefully, it's a cautionary tale of things can go south quickly. Those success can be fleeting, and obviously we want something that's more enduring and long lasting here. Anyway, continuing, shifting now to a different type of marketing that did really well in terms of the Mattress King here. If you're familiar, of Mattress Mack in the United States, in Houston, in terms of betting on marketing his product even at a loss here. And if you, I think the strategy here, let's see here. I think if you pay a certain amount, if you buy over $3,000, I think the market, yeah, those who spend $3,000 or more on a mattress got their purchase free with the Astros win. So meaning he's betting that the team, his team, will win. And obviously, if you're a customer and if you spend more, which is it's a win-win for the company, even though they will have to shell out money. And what's interesting here is, instead of just pursuing that marketing, which is interesting in itself, he used that knowledge. If his team, home team, is going to win, why not gamble on it and betting on the team? And in this case, he bet $10 million, and lo and behold, the Houston Astros won the MLB concluding season, and which paid out a roughly 75 million according to Caesar's uh, according to Caesar's here, which obviously negated the loss that he would incur from the payout that he had to give away from the people who bought his product here. So actually, he covered his bases here, assuming his team would win, and it would generate a big PR boost for the company, and through word of mouth, obviously, come next year around, and if the Houston Astros were in the playoffs and in the hunt for the championship, then he could use it again and again, and people would be enticed to to what do you call this, he would be enticed to do the same strategy again. And I think I don't know if it's ethical to do that strategy, but it would work for him, and it would create a lot of, the fact that we're talking about it now is conclusive evidence that his strategy does works, and he's benefiting from it tremendously, and he's not losing any money at all here. The fact that he's betting that the team would win, he was willing to give away the product, but he hedged on the other side on betting on the team, if they were to win, that he would win even more money than he bet early on, which is kind of interesting and caught my attention here. And he simply placed a 10 million bet on his Houston Astros to win the World Series, and lo and behold, the payout is 75 million, which is a pretty significant amount. So this will cost Caesars and Penn Entertainment big time here. So obviously, it's a good strategy for him, and it's a win-win for his company. Either way, how you look at. And I wish I think of that strategy before, but obviously that could be a hit and miss, and could have a disastrous result if things were to turn out not win. If the team were not to win, then the company doesn't have to pay anything if consumers bought their products anyhow here. Anyway, what do you call this? For our last story here, so we're going now into the music industry in terms of discussing how a popular music artist typically they held concerts all around the world. Obviously, to buy their tickets, it would be difficult if you have to go personally to the venue where the event is going to happen. You have to fall in line, wait for hours or even some days just to be able to get the tickets for that said event. Convenience, use of technology, having online services is a tremendous boon for many people. But obviously, having a monopoly on that platform is dangerous as well, and which is what happened here in this situation here. In the case here, the DJOJ is now looking at the investigating Ticketmaster for the debacle that happened with the Taylor Swift concert here. It mentions here that the Department of Justice reported opened an antitrust investigation into Live Nation, the parent company of Ticketmaster, to determine if the company has abused its power in the live music industry. So the investigation is said to have been ongoing over the last few months. Uh, Reported on the investigation between after the Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen's fans had to excessively difficult time trying to buy tickets for those artist tours. And the question here is, how is the process being done here? Is can anyone participate there, or are some people using chat bots or bots to buy the tickets here and close out the actual fans here? Or does the company only allot certain number of tickets and then they sell it through other means so that they can sell those ticket price to scalpers so that they can sell it even more exorbitantly to the actual fans here? And obviously, the main question here is, if a company is left to their own devices, they will do what's best for themselves, not for the consumer, for anyone else. And that's why you need to have a close eye on those companies, and obviously government's role to supervise and regulate those companies and put them in their place if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is protect the best interest of the consumers here. And the DAJ's Antitrust Division has been asking music venues and stakeholders in the ticket market about the industry and Live Nation's practices. And according to the report, the agency is looking into whether Live Nation holds a monopoly in the live music space. So having a monopoly on any industry is never a good thing for the consumers here. The company owns and operates many venues, including the House of Blues, and it runs festivals like Lollapalooza and Download. So it sells tickets to those places and events through Ticketmaster. Live Nation also manages dozens of notable artists here. So it goes on to mention that the two companies merged way back in 2010 after gaining approval from the DAJ. Now, the agency imposed some conditions on the deal, such as Live Nation having to sell parts of its business. For a 10-year-old, Live Nation was prohibited from threatening to keep tours away from venues that don't use Ticketmaster. Then in 2019, DOJ determined that Live Nation broke that condition and extended the merger agreement provision to 2025. So that's still a few years away. So it mentions here, so as of to date, Swifties and bots crashed Ticketmaster on Tuesday as they attempted to buy some tickets for the Megastars tour in 5 years during a pre-sale. Then Ticketmaster said a load of more than 3.5 billion system requests cost wreak havoc. Well, that's not the problem of the consumer here. That's why the company, if you want to hold this, you should be able to offer those services and have the capability to be able to handle that amount of volume or traffic within your site here. And the site was supposed to open up for 1.5 million verified Taylor Swift fans. According to Greg Maffei, the CEO of Live Nation, we had 14 million people hit the site, including bots which are not supposed to be there. Well, that's not the problem of the consumer. It's up to the company to address those issues. If you need a bigger server, you have to spend more in your technology to be able to handle those or even identify which is considered real and not, in terms of buying those tickets is a difficult task in its own. well, it's the business of doing it. If not, other companies can step in and do it. That's why having a monopoly is never a good thing, because if you have no option, then you're stuck using their platform here. Now, what's interesting again in this issue is regarding the fans waited in queues for hours, and when they finally able to select a seat, many were still unable to grab tickets, and in many cases tickets were essentially snatched out of customers' hand as they tried to put them in their cart. And then a general sale for the remaining tickets were supposed to take place on Friday, but Ticketmaster canceled it due to extraordinary high demands on ticketing systems and insufficient remaining ticket inventory to meet the demand. And I think at the end of the day, if this thing is going to creep up, I think it should, we just go back to the traditional means of, we line up on the venue, we buy the ticket, so that those who really are intent on buying the tickets, obviously less the convenience, you get the ticket that you want, and you allot certain tickets for certain audiences on certain days that you say, oh, we're going to sell 1,000 tickets today. So the first 1,000 people who are able to fall in line will get first dibs on the ticket. Then another day, another set, and another day. At least give everyone a chance to be able to buy those tickets, and in an organized manner. And unless they can optimize or improve the systems, I think that's not going to change anytime soon here. And what's interesting here is, due to the chaos, this has led to calls for the company to be broken up, so that the monopoly that they have is not prominent here, and obviously give other companies, businesses, to provide a service, a better service at that. And and which, I don't attend concerts, but if I were to, obviously being able to buy it online, or anyone to buy it online, can, what do you call this, can be given an opportunity. I don't know, maybe they could set up wherein they can verify the individuals here, and they can only buy a certain number of tickets individually here, and it has to be tied up to the individual's actual personal info, not just a made up info that can be verified through email, your phone number, or whatever, so that bots that are buying those tickets anonymously can be avoided here. I don't know, or maybe we need something more complicated process that can be used to protect the interests of the consumers here. But yeah, no, we'll wait and see here. Anyway, that concludes our discussion for today. Uh, Thank you again for joining me today. So if you have any questions, don't forget to leave your comments down below. And if you have any questions, I'll try to get back to you as always. Also, we're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers. So for those new people joining in, consider subscribing to the channel. If you found the contents in our channel entertaining, you can check out my other contents also every Wednesdays for business update, as well as Monday checklist on Mondays here. And also stay tuned by the end of the year, where I will do a year in review in terms of the news, things that happened this past year, also some of the more interesting topics that I've discussed here. And I'm inviting everyone to join in to sort of a New Year's, pre-New Year celebration of sorts, so we can make it a more merry event here. Anyway, as always, I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.